the galaxy had always looked down on humans. Most alien species thought of them as weak, disorganized, and unpredictable. Their home planet, Earth, was small and their technology seemed primitive compared to the massive fleets that roamed the stars. Alien commanders often joked about humans, saying they were no threat and would fall easily if ever challenged. They had never seen humans fight as one. They did not know that humans had something the galaxy had not counted on: heart, determination, and the ability to adapt. Captain James stood in the command room of the Earth Defense Station, his hands resting lightly on the console. The screens around him flickered with images from distant systems, reports of alien fleets moving through space, leaving destruction behind. Ships vanished from friendly planets, colonies were burned, and defenses were crushed without mercy. The reports were grim, but James did not look afraid. He had seen humans struggle before, but he had also seen them rise to challenges that seemed impossible. Commander Emma walked beside him, her expression focused and calm. She had spent years studying alien behavior, mapping out likely attack routes and preparing strategies for the inevitable confrontation. The news feed showed footage from distant worlds, with aliens marching across planets and taking control of entire populations. "They're coming," she said softly, her voice steady. "We can't wait for them to strike. We must be ready before they reach us." James nodded. "We've trained our pilots. We've built defenses. But it's more than that, Emma. It's about how humans think, how we react. The aliens don't expect us to fight like we do. They don't understand how far we can push ourselves when survival is on the line." On Earth, preparation was not a simple task. Thousands of pilots trained in zero-gravity simulations, practicing evasive maneuvers and rapid strikes. Engineers worked day and night to upgrade ships, improving shields, engines, and weapon systems. Scientists calculated trajectories for possible battles, and communication experts developed strategies to coordinate attacks across vast distances. Every human on the planet was contributing in some way, even if their role seemed small. No one was idle. In the outskirts of the training zones, young pilots like Oliver and Lily practiced tirelessly. Oliver was skilled at quick thinking and had a natural talent for maneuvering through asteroid fields. Lily was brilliant at handling systems, repairing engines in moments when ships would have been lost otherwise. Both of them understood that they were part of something bigger than themselves. The aliens had underestimated humans for too long, and now it was time to prove that the galaxy had been wrong. Even as humans worked, the alien fleets continued their campaigns, confident that resistance would crumble. Alien commanders spoke in cold tones, mocking Earth as they had mocked every other species they conquered. "They are weak," one of them said during a council meeting aboard a massive flagship. "They will fall as all others have." But beneath their arrogance, there were whispers of unease. Reports came back that human settlements were preparing defenses, that pilots were being trained, and that there was something unusual in the way humans coordinated their efforts. The commanders dismissed it at first, but a seed of doubt had been planted. James and Emma observed the growing tension with interest. They understood that the first step in battle was not always to attack, but to prepare the mind. Humans had the advantage of surprise, of unpredictability. They did not follow patterns the way alien forces did. Their strategies were flexible, and their teamwork was built on trust and quick thinking. This made them dangerous even when the odds seemed against them. In the quiet hours before dawn, James walked through the training facility. He watched pilots running drills, their faces determined but calm. He saw technicians double-checking systems, adjusting shields and weapons with precision. Even the youngest cadets, who had never seen battle, moved with purpose, absorbing every lesson with focus. Humanity was becoming ready, piece by piece, mind by mind, heart by heart. Meanwhile, Emma reviewed intelligence reports from nearby sectors. Each report detailed alien movements, noting patterns that could be exploited. "They move with arrogance," she said to James, "but arrogance can be a weakness. If we can anticipate them even slightly, we can turn it against them." James smiled faintly. "That's the thing about humans," he replied. "We learn. We adapt. We survive. And the moment the aliens think they have us figured out, we'll show them something they never expected." The first skirmishes were likely to be small, test attacks to gauge human responses. James imagined the alien scouts entering the system, expecting an easy victory, only to encounter coordinated defenses. Ships would maneuver in ways the aliens did not expect. Pilots would execute maneuvers that no simulation could predict. And Earth's fighters, though outnumbered, would strike with precision and courage. The aliens had never faced such determination, and their confidence would be challenged at every step. Back on Earth, ordinary citizens played their part as well. Scientists and engineers, pilots and strategists, even farmers and builders contributed to the war effort in small but important ways. Supplies were organized, repair bays stocked, and communication lines secured. The entire planet was involved. Humanity was not just preparing for survival, they were preparing to fight back and to remind the galaxy that they could not be dismissed. As the sun rose over the horizon, casting light over Earth's cities and bases, a sense of unity filled the air. James and Emma stood together, looking out over the bustling activity below. "They don't know what's coming," James said quietly. "And that is our advantage." Emma nodded. "We will show them the strength they never expected in the weakest species." The aliens continued to laugh, unaware that the humans had already started winning without firing a single shot. The galaxy might have thought them weak, but humans had grown in courage, knowledge, and strategy. They were ready and their moment would come. The battle for survival was not just about technology or firepower, it was about heart, intelligence, and the unyielding will to defend their home. Soon, the stars would bear witness to a species that no one had taken seriously. Humanity was ready to rise, ready to fight, and ready to surprise the galaxy in a way that no alien commander could have imagined. Captain James, Commander Emma, and every human preparing for the inevitable knew that this was only the beginning. When the aliens arrived, they would face something they had never faced before. They would face the humans who refused to be victims. And the humans were ready. The first alien ships appeared on the edges of the solar system like dark shadows against the distant stars. They were massive, sleek, and menacing, far larger than anything humans had ever built. Their engines glowed with a cold, blue light, and their weapons bristled with deadly energy. Across the control rooms of Earth's fleet, alarms sounded, and displays lit up with the movement of the alien vessels. Captain James watched quietly, his hands resting on the console, eyes fixed on the approaching threat. "This is it," Commander Emma said, her voice calm but firm. "They've come. All units, prepare for immediate engagement. Stick to the plan. Execute precisely." Her fingers danced across her tablet as she activated coordination channels. Across the fleet, pilots acknowledged orders, their voices steady, betraying no fear despite the enormous odds. The humans had trained for this moment, but even with preparation, the sight of the alien fleet filled many with awe. Oliver, a young pilot barely out of training, gripped the controls of his fighter tightly. He had spent countless hours practicing in simulators, weaving through asteroid fields and evading enemy fire. Now it was real. The asteroid belt near Mars offered a natural advantage. Its jagged rocks could hide human ships and force the aliens to slow down, giving humans a tactical edge. Oliver's fingers moved with precision as he guided his fighter through the massive floating rocks, dodging debris and enemy scans. His target was the alien scout ships, small but fast, meant to probe defenses. "Target locked," he whispered, focusing on the nearest alien craft. He fired a pulse laser, striking the ship with perfect accuracy. It exploded in a flash of green energy. Another scout approached, and Oliver twisted his ship sharply, dodging its laser and firing in return. Each move was calculated, each retreat deliberate. Human pilots had learned to fight not just with skill but with strategy. Behind him, Lily monitored the energy shields across the fleet. Her console displayed a network of glowing lines, connecting every ship in the battle group. She adjusted the power distribution constantly, diverting energy to weaker shields, boosting defense where attacks were strongest, and keeping the human fleet alive against the alien assault. Her hands flew over the controls, her mind racing to anticipate every possible strike. Each time an alien laser hit a shield, she recalculated in seconds, preventing critical damage. The aliens were not used to such coordination. Their commanders had expected a scattered resistance, maybe a few desperate strikes from disorganized humans. Instead, they found a fleet moving as one. Ships appeared from behind asteroids, struck with precision, and vanished before retaliation could come. They had never seen a species use their environment so cleverly, combining speed, strategy, and teamwork in ways their scanners could barely comprehend. On the alien flagship, Commander Vexer frowned. Reports came in rapidly, each one more confusing than the last. "How is this possible?" he growled. "These humans, they are organized, coordinated. They anticipate our movements. They adapt too quickly." Around him, his officers argued, unsure what to do. "They are just a small species. They cannot survive our firepower," one officer said, shaking his head. But another voice, more cautious, suggested, "Perhaps we underestimated them. Perhaps they are learning faster than any species we have faced." Vexer's eyes narrowed. This was a thought he had never entertained before. Back in the asteroid field, Oliver led a squadron through a dangerous passage. He glanced at the radar, noting the positions of his fellow pilots. They were in perfect formation, moving like a single entity. Each fighter covered another, leaving no gaps for the aliens to exploit. He fired again, striking another alien scout, then dodged a missile that exploded against a nearby rock. The shockwave rattled his ship, but he held steady, trusting both his training and his team. Meanwhile, Lily continued to manage the fleet's defenses. Each time a ship took damage, she quickly rerouted power to protect it. The humans relied on their technology, yes, but more than that, they relied on human ingenuity. Every adjustment she made, every calculation, every small decision kept ships alive, giving pilots like Oliver the chance to strike again. She felt a surge of pride with every ship that survived a near hit. Humanity was holding its own, even against overwhelming odds. The aliens began to feel something unfamiliar: fear. Not panic yet, but a creeping unease. Reports of lost ships, evasive maneuvers that countered their attacks, and strange tactics that defied their training spread quickly through their fleet. Vexor's officers argued among themselves, confused and frustrated. Every attack the aliens made seemed to be anticipated, every retreat cleverly disguised as a trap. Humans were not simply fighting, they were controlling the battle. On the human command bridge, James and Emma exchanged a glance. "They're faltering," Emma said. "Not because they're weak, but because they didn't expect humans to be clever." James nodded. "They've never faced a species that learns and adapts in real time. That's our advantage. We are unpredictable, but we are united. That combination terrifies them more than our weapons ever could." Oliver's squadron moved deeper into the asteroid field. Alien cruisers tried to follow, but the rocks tore at their hulls, forcing them to slow. Every shot the humans took was calculated for maximum effect. The aliens had numbers, but humans had strategy. Humans had heart. Each small victory, each downed alien ship, fueled the pilot's confidence. Fear, which had been the humans' own companion for years, was now becoming the enemy's companion instead. Lily noticed a critical threat approaching. A massive alien warship was preparing a direct strike on a human vessel. She quickly recalculated energy flows, boosting shields, and sending emergency power to defensive lasers. The attack hit, but the shields held. The human ship survived, and the aliens saw that their firepower was not enough. Every ship that survived, every strike that worked, was teaching the humans more about their enemies. As the battle raged, the humans continued to execute maneuvers the aliens had never anticipated. They used decoys, ambushes, and feints. Pilots like Oliver moved through deadly zones with courage, knowing that each success could change the course of the fight. Each time an alien ship fell, their confidence wavered. They had thought humans were weak. They had thought humans were simple. But humans were learning, adapting, and surviving against all odds. Hours passed like minutes. The alien fleet began to pull back slightly, confused and cautious. Fear was spreading among their commanders. Vexor realized that his initial assumptions had been wrong. These humans were no ordinary species. They were clever, resourceful, and fearless. They were dangerous in ways the galaxy had never recorded before. On the human bridge, James allowed himself a small smile. "They've started to understand," he said. "They've realized that humans fight differently. That they cannot predict us fully. That fear they feel now, it is our advantage." Emma nodded, her eyes scanning the remaining alien positions. "We need to maintain pressure, but we must stay precise. Every move matters." In the asteroid field, Oliver and his squadron prepared for the next wave. Each pilot was alert, ready, and calm. They had survived their first encounter with alien fire. They had struck with accuracy. And they had learned, just as the aliens were learning, that humans were not a species to underestimate. Far away, the alien commanders regrouped, discussing how to respond. The humans had proven one thing: they were clever, adaptable, and united. They were no longer simple creatures to crush. They were a species that could fight back. And that thought made the aliens wary, perhaps even fearful, for the first time in generations. The battle continued, but the tide had shifted. The humans had shown the galaxy that they were not weak, that they could strike with intelligence and courage, and that every small victory had a larger meaning. Every calculated attack, every shielded ship, every maneuver through the asteroid field was teaching the aliens a lesson they had never expected. And humanity was just beginning. The battle had moved past the asteroid belts and now spread across the space around Mars. The red planet loomed beneath the human and alien fleets, a silent witness to the conflict raging above. Alien ships of every size and shape filled the skies, bristling with weapons and engines glowing with deadly energy. Their numbers were overwhelming, far larger than the human fleet, and they believed that sheer firepower would crush Earth's defenses. But humans were not just reacting, they were thinking. On the command bridge of the Earth fleet, Emily studied the displays, her mind racing through possibilities. She could see the enemy's formations, their likely paths of attack, and the weak points in their approach. Her fingers moved quickly, highlighting positions on the tactical map. "James," she said, her voice calm but firm, "if we take the southern approach and lure their cruisers near the asteroid field, we can trap them. Their size will slow them down and our fighters can hit them from both sides." James nodded, trusting her judgment completely. "All units, follow Emily's plan. Prepare for coordinated strikes. Every ship counts." Across the fleet, orders were transmitted and human ships moved with precision. They had practiced these maneuvers countless times, but now the stakes were real. Pilots like Oliver and his squadron braced themselves, scanning the stars for enemy movements. Daniel, a skilled gunner, manned the heavy cannons on one of the larger human ships. His eyes were sharp, his hands steady. Alien cruisers appeared on the radar, massive and dangerous, firing energy blasts that could pierce shields with ease. But Daniel was ready. Each shot he fired was precise, hitting critical points on the enemy vessels. Small explosions dotted the enemy fleet, and alien crews began to realize that human gunners were not easily intimidated. The aliens tried to overwhelm humans with numbers, sending wave after wave of ships toward the fleet. Their weapons fired relentlessly, creating streaks of light across the void. Yet the humans adapted faster than expected. Pilots used evasive maneuvers to dodge fire, drawing alien ships into traps set by Emily's strategies. When one ship was under heavy attack, another would cover it, diverting the enemy's attention. Humans moved like a single organism, their teamwork and coordination turning the battlefield to their advantage. Oliver's squadron darted through the gaps between alien ships, striking quickly and retreating before the enemy could counterattack. He fired missiles with deadly accuracy, targeting engines and weapon systems. Each successful strike created openings for other ships to exploit. The aliens, who had always relied on overwhelming firepower, found themselves outmaneuvered. Their attacks were fast but predictable, and humans were learning with every exchange. On the human bridge, James watched the unfolding battle with a mixture of tension and pride. "Their confidence is wavering," he said. "They thought numbers alone would win. They didn't expect humans to fight like this." Emily nodded. "They're learning that brute force isn't everything. Humans think, adapt, and work together. That combination is terrifying to them. And we're just getting started." The aliens became increasingly frustrated. Commander Vexer paced across the command room of his flagship. "Why are they so organized?" he demanded. "Why can't we crush them with our superior numbers?" His officers exchanged uneasy glances. Reports of destroyed cruisers and failed attacks came in one after another. "They are clever, too clever," one officer admitted. "We didn't expect this." Vexer clenched his fists. For the first time he felt doubt. Humans were not just fighting back, they were teaching him that assumptions could be deadly. Below, smaller human fighters continued their daring attacks. They used the terrain of Mars' orbit and the scattered debris in space as cover. Each pilot knew the risks, but they also knew the stakes. Losing a fighter meant risking the lives of others, but every successful strike boosted morale. They were not only defending Earth, they were proving to the galaxy that humans could stand against even the most powerful fleets. Daniel's gunnery team worked tirelessly, firing on alien cruisers with precision. He aimed for weak points in the alien hulls, exploiting every crack and exposed area. When a cruiser was hit, it often caused a chain reaction of secondary explosions, disabling nearby ships. Every hit was calculated, every shot had a purpose. The aliens began to hesitate, unsure of when or where humans would strike next. That uncertainty was a weapon in itself. Meanwhile, Oliver and his squadron executed a risky maneuver, diving between two massive alien warships. They fired from both sides, striking critical systems before quickly retreating behind a cloud of debris. The alien commanders were taken aback. "They are fearless," one shouted. "They throw themselves into danger without hesitation." Fear, a feeling humans had once known themselves, was now spreading among the aliens. They realized they could not rely solely on numbers and firepower. On the human bridge, James and Emily coordinated the next phase of the battle. "We'll use the asteroid clusters near the southern belt to create choke points," Emily instructed. "Alien cruisers are too large to maneuver quickly. They'll be forced to slow down, making them vulnerable to concentrated attacks. James relayed the orders and human ships moved into position. Every pilot understood their role, every gunnery team was prepared, and every shield operator remained vigilant. The aliens launched a massive counterattack trying to break through the human lines. Energy blasts streaked across space, lighting up the darkness. Daniel's aim never wavered and he fired shot after shot, striking critical systems on approaching cruisers. Human fighters swooped in from unexpected angles, striking before vanishing into debris and smoke. The aliens began to lose confidence. Their attacks were strong, but humans had learned their patterns and adapted. Every failure was another lesson for the humans, every small victory a blow to the enemy's morale. Even the alien commanders could see it. Confidence had always been their strongest weapon, but now doubt crept into their ranks. Vexor watched as his ships retreated slightly, formations breaking under pressure. Humans were not just surviving, they were controlling the battlefield, forcing the aliens to react instead of act. It was a role reversal the aliens had never imagined. Emily studied the tactical map, identifying the gaps in the alien formation. "We can press this advantage," she said. "Divide their forces. Force them to retreat further. They'll start questioning their own strategies." James smiled faintly. "Good. Let's make them understand that humans are not a species to underestimate." Over Mars, the human fleet continued its coordinated assault. Every strike was precise, every retreat deliberate. Ships moved in perfect synchronization, supporting one another, covering weaknesses and exploiting openings. Pilots like Oliver demonstrated courage and skill, gunners like Daniel ensured every attack hit its mark, and strategists like Emily guided the fleet with intelligence. Slowly, alien ships began to retreat, their confidence shaken by the humans' courage and intelligence. The retreat was cautious at first, small groups pulling back to regroup. But as humans pressed forward, exploiting every weakness, the retreat became general. Alien commanders realized that their numbers alone could not win this battle. The humans had something far more powerful, the ability to adapt, to coordinate, and to think as one. Fear had begun to spread among the alien ranks, a fear they had never experienced in centuries of conquest. Back on the human command bridge, James allowed himself a moment of relief. "They are retreating," he said. "Not because of our numbers but because of our strategy. Our courage. Our teamwork." Emily nodded. "This is the moment we've prepared for. They've underestimated humans. And now they see the truth. We are not weak. We are not easy to defeat." Oliver, Daniel, and all the pilots and gunners felt the same. They had faced overwhelming odds and survived. They had struck with skill and intelligence. And in doing so, they had begun to change the way the galaxy viewed humanity. Humans were no longer a species to dismiss. They were fighters, thinkers, and survivors. As the alien fleet pulled away, regrouping in the distance, James knew the battle was far from over. But the humans had proven something critical. They could face the strongest enemies and they could win through intelligence, courage, and unity. Slowly, the galaxy was beginning to see that humans were not a species to fear lightly. And humanity had only just begun to show its true strength. The alien flagship was a fortress in the void of space, massive and heavily armed, with weapons bristling along its hull and shields glowing like molten metal. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Commander Vexor and his officers argued heatedly, their voices echoing across the command chamber. They had expected humans to surrender quickly, to flee, or to be destroyed before causing any real trouble. Instead, humans had survived wave after wave of attacks, adapting faster than the aliens had imagined. Their fleet was clever, coordinated, and relentless. "This is impossible," Vexor snapped, slamming a clawed hand against the console. "They are a small species. They cannot possibly fight us like this. They should have been crushed hours ago." His officers exchanged uneasy glances. Some tried to defend the strategy, suggesting adjustments in their attacks. "We need to focus fire on the largest human ships," one officer said. "If we destroy the capital ships, the rest will fall in panic." But even as the alien officers debated, reports of failures continued to flood in. Cruiser after cruiser had been damaged or destroyed, pilot after pilot forced to retreat. The humans had repaired ships quickly, rescued survivors, and reorganized without hesitation. They were not only surviving, they were preparing to strike again, stronger and smarter than before. On the human side, Emma worked quickly, her mind racing as she coordinated the next move. She knew the aliens' flagship was the heart of their operation. If they could disrupt the command center, they could force chaos into the alien fleet. James, she said over the communication line. I have a plan to target the command center. It will be risky, but it could end this battle. James studied the tactical map, noting enemy positions and escape routes. Do it, he replied. We'll support you. Cut off their exits and we hit them from all sides. Everyone stay alert. Every ship matters. Across the fleet, pilots prepared for a daring strike. Each fighter, each gunner, each engineer understood the stakes. They were about to challenge the enemy directly, attacking the command center of the flagship that had terrified the galaxy for centuries. Emma led a squadron through a narrow corridor of debris and smaller ships, carefully avoiding detection as they approached the flagship. Her maneuvers were precise, honed from years of training and countless simulations. The aliens fired at them as soon as they were spotted, but the humans were ready. Shields flared under the energy blasts, engines roared as they dodged, and weapons fired with deadly accuracy. Every movement was deliberate, calculated to strike with maximum effect. Daniel, manning one of the heavy cannons, fired at enemy fighters trying to intercept them. Each shot hit its mark, disabling alien vessels and clearing a path for Emma and her squadron. Oliver and the other pilots flanked the flagship, cutting off possible escape routes. Every alien ship that tried to retreat was met with swift and precise counterattacks. Humans moved as one, their teamwork turning the tide of the battle. Inside the alien flagship, panic spread. Vexor barked orders, but confusion ruled. Divert shields. Fire at the intruders, he shouted. We cannot allow them to reach the command center. But his crew was disorganized, their fear and surprise interfering with every action. Humans had broken their formation and controlled the battlefield, forcing the aliens to react instead of act. Vexor realized with growing dread that his entire fleet was at risk. On the bridge of Emma's ship, she guided her squadron through the final approach. Energy beams flashed across the void, striking at human ships, but her shields held. Steady, she said calmly. Focus on the command center. Hit it hard, then pull back if needed. Her squadron fired as one, a concentrated strike that pierced the shields and hit the heart of the alien control hub. Explosions rocked the flagship, alarms blaring as systems failed. James coordinated with other human units, ensuring no alien ship could escape. Fighters intercepted vessels trying to flee, forcing them back into the crossfire. Engineers repaired damaged shields and weapons in seconds, keeping the fleet operational. Each human ship contributed to the strategy, covering weaknesses and exploiting openings. The aliens were being squeezed from all sides, trapped by humans they had once considered weak. The alien commanders shouted in frustration, their panic growing with every passing moment. They are attacking directly, one officer yelled. We cannot hold the command center. Retreat? No, we cannot. We must fight. Vexor's claws tightened on his console. For the first time he felt fear not for himself but for his entire fleet. The humans were not just surviving. They were dictating the battle. They were proving to the galaxy that a species thought weak could be deadly when united, clever, and brave. Meanwhile, human engineers continued to stabilize their damaged ships. Lily worked tirelessly, rerouting energy to shields, boosting power to weapons and repairing hull breaches. Every human ship repaired and every fighter that remained operational increased their advantage. Humans had learned to fight in ways the aliens could not anticipate, and every calculation, every adjustment turned the battle in their favor. Emma's squadron pressed forward, moving in synchronized patterns that struck fear into the remaining alien forces. Laser fire, missiles, and rapid maneuvers combined to disable the flagship's weapons and engines. Each hit was precise, aimed at critical systems. Daniel's gunnery team supported the attack, targeting enemy cruisers and smaller vessels that threatened Emma's squadron. Slowly, the alien flagship began to falter, unable to control the chaos unfolding across its decks and in space. Oliver led a final intercept squad, cutting off escape routes for the alien commanders. Ships that had once dominated the galaxy now struggled to flee. Their weapons were firing at shadows, reacting instead of controlling. Fear and confusion spread like wildfire. The humans were relentless, calculating, and united. Each victory in the battle was both a tactical success and a psychological blow to the enemy. From the flagship, Vexor watched as his plans crumbled. Every maneuver the aliens attempted was countered with precision. The humans had turned his own tactics against him, exploiting weaknesses and covering their own vulnerabilities. For the first time in centuries, a species the aliens had considered insignificant was forcing them to retreat. The thought was unbearable. On the human bridge, James and Emma watched the alien flagship falter. They're losing control, James said quietly. They thought this would be easy. They assumed we would surrender. But humans don't give up that easily. Emma nodded. We've forced them to fight differently, to react instead of attack. That is our advantage. We can end this but carefully. We must stay united. The humans pressed the attack, coordinating strikes across the battlefield. Small fighters darted between alien cruisers, heavy guns fired with deadly precision, and shields absorbed the enemy's strongest blows. Every move was designed to weaken the flagship and disrupt the alien fleet. Slowly, the aliens realized that they could not win this battle with brute force alone. Humans had shown them intelligence, courage, and unity, a combination the galaxy had never seen. Finally, with critical systems failing and escape blocked, the alien commanders called for a retreat. Their ships disengaged reluctantly, forming an unsteady line as they withdrew. Vexor's face was pale, his eyes wide with disbelief. A species he had considered weak had outsmarted him, forced his fleet into chaos, and made him doubt his own strategies. Fear had entered the minds of the aliens for the first time in their history. The human fleet did not pursue recklessly. They maintained formation, ready to strike if the aliens returned, but ensuring their own forces remained intact. Repairs were made immediately, survivors rescued, and ships reorganized. Every human involved understood the significance of what had just happened. They had forced a retreat, defended their home, and demonstrated a power that could not be ignored. Emma and James stood on the bridge together, looking out at the slowly retreating alien ships. They underestimated us, James said quietly. And now they know they cannot take humans lightly. Emma nodded. We've shown them courage, intelligence, and unity. That is something no fleet can match without thinking in new ways. The battle around the alien flagship had ended for now, but the humans had achieved something far greater than a tactical victory. They had proven that even a species once thought weak could force a powerful enemy to retreat through planning, courage, and cooperation. Across the galaxy, records would later show that humanity had faced one of its most dangerous foes and had not only survived but prevailed. The stars were quiet now, except for the hum of human ships repairing, regrouping, and preparing for the next stage. The aliens had been forced to rethink everything they knew about humans. A species once dismissed as weak had become a force to be feared. And for the humans of Earth, the battle had only strengthened their resolve. They had fought bravely, outsmarted a superior enemy, and proven that courage and unity could overcome even the greatest odds. Humanity had turned the tide of the battle. The aliens had retreated, their confidence shattered, and the humans had prepared for whatever came next. They were no longer just survivors. They were fighters, strategists, and defenders of their home. For the first time, humans had truly shown the galaxy their strength. The battle was over, but its echoes lingered across the solar system. The alien fleets that had once loomed so threateningly in Earth's orbit had withdrawn, damaged, and humbled. For the first time, humans felt the weight of a hard-earned victory, not only in the destruction of enemy ships but in the knowledge that they had faced one of the galaxy's most feared species and had survived. The air on Earth's command centers and space stations buzzed with quiet relief, a sense of pride that stretched across every ship, every fighter, and every human involved. Captain James stood on the bridge of the flagship, his eyes scanning the calm but endless expanse of stars. They no longer felt cold or hostile. To him, they seemed alive, full of possibilities, as if the universe itself had acknowledged humanity's courage. He breathed deeply, allowing himself a rare moment of reflection. This was the result of years of preparation, of countless hours spent training, of engineers, pilots, strategists, and ordinary people giving everything they had to defend their home. Every human had played a role, and now the galaxy had taken notice. Emma stood beside him, reviewing the battle logs that detailed every maneuver, every strike, every calculated move that had turned the tide. Her mind analyzed every action, already considering improvements and lessons for the future, but for the first time in days she allowed herself a small smile. "We did it," she said quietly. "They will never see humans the same way again." Oliver, still wearing his flight suit and helmet, leaned against the railing, exhausted but exhilarated. His mind replayed the battle, the adrenaline of dodging alien fire, striking at critical points and coordinating with other pilots. Every move he had made had counted. Every action had mattered. He had been a small part of something far greater than himself, and that truth filled him with a sense of accomplishment and wonder. "I can't believe we actually did it," he said softly, almost to himself. Lily, who had spent the battle managing shields and repairing ships under constant pressure, allowed herself to relax for the first time. She looked around at the fleet, seeing the ships glowing with renewed energy, repairs completed, and survivors safe. Every repair she had made, every adjustment to the shields, had ensured the survival of countless pilots and crews. She felt proud, not for herself alone but for all of humanity. "We weren't just lucky," she said. "We were ready. We adapted. We survived. That's what makes us strong." Across the galaxy, reports of the human victory began to spread. Sensors and communication networks that the aliens had not thought important now recorded Earth's fleet as a rising power. Observers who had once dismissed humans as insignificant were forced to reconsider. The aliens who had mocked them, laughed at their small ships and seemingly primitive technology, now took careful notes. They studied human tactics, pilot behavior, and command strategies with respect, even fear. Humanity had demonstrated that strength was not measured only in numbers or size, but in intelligence, courage, and unity. James thought back to the early days of the conflict, when humanity had seemed small and weak against the enormous alien forces. They had learned quickly that survival depended not on brute force alone but on strategy, teamwork, and the willingness to adapt. Every pilot who dodged a missile, every gunner who hit a critical target, every engineer who repaired a shield under fire, had proved that humans were not victims waiting for destruction. They were fighters, thinkers, and survivors. Emma reflected on the courage she had seen in the pilots, young and old, trained and untested alike. They had faced fear head-on, making decisions in moments that could have ended their lives, and instead had turned fear into focus. She knew that the galaxy had witnessed something unprecedented, a species that could rise from underestimation and, through skill, intelligence, and cooperation, force a superior enemy to retreat. Oliver watched as some of his fellow pilots laughed quietly, others exchanged tired but proud smiles, and still others embraced comrades they had fought alongside. He realized that this victory was more than a battle, it was a statement. Humans had entered a galactic stage that few had ever thought they could reach. They had claimed their place not through domination but through courage, ingenuity, and teamwork. Lily moved to the observation deck, looking down at Earth far below, the blue planet calm and beautiful, untouched by the chaos that had raged above. She thought about the countless people who had contributed to this moment, those who had never seen battle yet had prepared the ships, the supplies, and the strategy that made victory possible. She felt a deep connection to every human who had played a role, and a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity had survived, and now it was ready to grow stronger. James turned to his team, seeing the pride and determination reflected in their eyes. "This is only the beginning," he said, his voice carrying both seriousness and hope. "We've proven we can fight, we've proven we can survive, and we've proven that we can win. But the galaxy is vast. There will be more challenges. More species who underestimate us. More battles to fight. But now we know, we are ready." Across the galaxy, alien commanders sent reports back to their home worlds, documenting their defeat and the remarkable resistance of the human species. They noted the human skill in coordination, their adaptability, and the courage that drove them to fight against impossible odds. For the first time, aliens considered humans not as prey, not as weaklings but as equals, a species that could think, adapt, and win against superior forces. The galaxy had changed its perception of humanity forever. In the quiet moments after the battle, the human fleet began repairing, restocking, and preparing for whatever came next. They celebrated, yes, but they also reflected, learning from their victories and mistakes alike. Every action, every decision, every moment of courage had been recorded, and each lesson would guide humanity in the wars and challenges yet to come. On the bridge, James, Emma, Oliver, and Lily stood together watching the stars. They were no longer merely observers of the galaxy, they were participants, citizens of a universe that had once dismissed them as weak. The stars shimmered differently now, not as distant and cold, but as a canvas of possibilities. Humans had proven that their strength was more than technology or numbers. It was their unity, their intelligence, and their courage that made them formidable. Oliver broke the silence, smiling faintly. "I never thought we'd make it this far." James clapped him on the shoulder. "You did more than make it. You helped change everything. Humanity has shown the galaxy that we are not victims. We are fighters, thinkers, survivors." Lily looked out at the alien fleet that had retreated, knowing that they had learned a lesson they would never forget. "They mocked us," she said softly, "but now they respect us. And respect can be more powerful than fear." Emma nodded, feeling a quiet satisfaction. "We fought with our minds and hearts as much as our ships and weapons. That is the legacy we leave, the galaxy will remember it." As the humans celebrated their victory, Earth became a beacon of hope and strength. Other species began to take note, and some, once indifferent or hostile, began to approach cautiously, recognizing that humans could not be underestimated. Across the stars, humans' courage and unity became a story of inspiration, a lesson in what determination, strategy, and teamwork could achieve. For James, Emma, Oliver, and Lily, the victory was personal as well as historical. They had faced unimaginable danger, risked everything, and survived. And in doing so, they had paved the way for humanity to take its rightful place among the stars. A new era had begun. Humans were no longer the species to be dismissed. They were a rising power, ready for the challenges and wonders of the galaxy. The stars stretched endlessly, calm and brilliant, and humanity had earned the right to reach for them. And humanity was ready.